Chances are, if you live in the United States, you might be thinking the wrong way about Israel. With the state of the world and everything that's going on right now, Christians have drawn back to that age-old question, how do we feel about Israel? Right now, there's a large wave of evangelicals in the United States who say something along the lines of, if we bless Israel and all that they do, then we'll be blessed too. We've even seen some American politicians get on this theological bandwagon. But here's the question, does this check out biblically? Arguments supporting Israel normally come from the Abrahamic narratives that we find in Genesis. In Genesis 12:3, we actually see that God says to Abraham, I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. We even see that in Genesis 15, God promises to Abraham that his offspring will have the entire land, all the way from the Nile River to the Euphrates. So bless Israel, make sure they have the land that's promised them in the Bible, and we'll be blessed, right? It's not that simple. At first glimpse, this might seem like an attractive proposal, but it doesn't make good sense of all the biblical data. Throughout the entire Old Testament, God gives promises to the Abrahamic family, all the way from the patriarchs down to the Davidic dynasty. And God says that if Israel will be faithful to him, that he will give covenant promises to her. If she will be the faithful covenant partner of Yahweh, he will provide them with land, seed, and blessing. But if you've read the Old Testament, you know why this is problematic. Far from walking in obedience to God, Israel habitually walks in disobedience to God and even receives cursing and exile. Yet, in the midst of exile and cursing, we see a glimmer of hope when we open up to the New Testament. Jesus, the faithful covenant Israelite, walks in perfect obedience to the will of God. As the true seed of Abraham and the true seed of David, Jesus merits the covenant blessings that were promised to the Abrahamic family, land, seed, and blessing. This is why Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 1:20 that all of God's promises are yes in him. And by the way, that land that God promised to Abraham's offspring in Genesis 15 was just a glimpse of what God was actually promising. In Romans chapter 4, Paul says that far from just a land between the Euphrates River and the Nile, that the promise to Abraham and his offspring was actually for the entire world. Jesus, the true offspring of Abraham, now sits enthroned in the heavens, and he doesn't just rule over a little plot of land that we call Palestine. He rules over the whole creation. And what's more is that the boundaries of the Abrahamic family have now been expanded. It's not about circumcision, it's not about ethnic background, and it's certainly not about what landmass you live on. Rather, being a part of the Abrahamic family is dependent on faith. This is why Paul says in Galatians 3:29, if you are Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to the promise. If you believe in Jesus, then those promises in the Bible to Abraham are not to a particular ethnic group. They're about you and all those who are united to Christ by faith. So if Americans want blessing, the question we should be asking is, are we united to Jesus, the Son of God?